begin this episode, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening and all your support. You all make Girls in Property the success it is. Please can I ask that if you enjoy this episode to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe on your favourite channel to help me elevate the podcast and make it the best show I can for all of you. Thank you, and let's unite, empower, and inspire each other always. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Girls in Property podcast. So I am back after 2 weeks of being in gala mode and being off in Mexico and just trying to juggle 1,001 things. I am back, baby. So today is the 16th of December. Cannot believe it is less than 2 weeks until Christmas. Where has the time gone? And what I thought I would do for you all today, because I think it's a fantastic time to do it, is to actually do a goal setting workshop podcast with you all. I actually did this for my community girls about a week, 2 weeks ago, and they loved it. And they thought it was a fantastic way to really sort of end 2024, but really go into 2025 with a really clear direction. And hitting January off with a really big bang, as opposed to only just looking at your goals in January when it's already here. So I thought I would do all of that for you today. So make sure for this podcast you actually do have, if possible, a pad and pen available to you to write some notes. And if you don't, of course, just rewind and go back. That's no problem. But how is everybody on this Monday? How's everyone feeling? It's been a week since the Girls in Property Gala, which is crazy to think, actually. It's crazy to think it's already been a week. And of course, I know some of you listening would have been at that gala. And what an amazing, amazing way to celebrate with you all as well. But before that, we're going to be doing goal setting and having a bit of a chat. So what I wanted to first of all do was to say, for any new listeners who are only just checking in now and listening, because I know we do have lots of new listeners every single day. Welcome, first of all, to Girls in Property. I am your host, Athena, and usually what happens is we have a guest on the podcast. However, for today, you have me speaking to you today, and I'll be speaking to you for the next kind of about an hour or so, depending on things. It still baffles me that I'm able to talk to myself for an hour, but for some of you, you won't be surprised by that. And what we do is we have a little bit of a structure and then I go straight into it. So how usually these episodes always begin with the podcast, which I think is incredibly important because we don't do it enough, is we always talk about something that we are celebrating at this moment in time. So of course, what I'm going to be celebrating is the Girls in Property Gala, which it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, particularly when I'm sitting here talking to you about it on my own. You know, if there was someone else here sitting with me, for example, who had been to the gala, it would be a bit easier because you can really bounce with the energy. But it was just incredible. It's difficult to I always find it really difficult to describe a feeling. Because it's a feeling. Like it's one of those where sometimes there just are no words, really. And it was just the most incredible experience in terms of getting particularly women in a room together who are so encouraging of one another. And the thing I'm the most proud of above everything else is the fact that I've able to orchestrate a community who champions each other. And I really drive that so hard in my heart. There are a lot of communities out there, but I stand true to this. I don't think there are any communities out there where the people within the community support one another as much as they support one another in the Girls in Property community. It really is sensational. And that was the feedback. That was the feedback from all the girls. They're like, even girls who had never known about Girls in Property, they only heard about it from the gala. They were like, wow, what an incredible array of women. And I just want to say, for everybody who was there, who made the night so special, thank you so much for being there. You know, it was amazing. And of course, my night, the gala night, would be the only night where there would be, you know, gale force winds, delayed trains. But everyone made it. Everyone did such an effort to be there. And I really thank you for that. But of course, my night would have a gale force wind and advice of not to travel. I was like, yep, that sounds about right. That sounds like the universe wants to test me even more so than it already does. So I first of all want to say thank you. One of the things I actually did today, only after a week after the gala, because there's been so much going on. You know, I've been dealing with a lot of tenants where they're so many issues because of the weather with their fences falling down. Some of their ventilation things had like fallen out, and one of them had like a massive hole in their lounge, and I was like, oh, I better fix that, and just really getting back to everything. And of course, I've still got my mentees as well, and they've all got situations going on for themselves. I've had one of my mentees this week. Actually, we're doing celebrations. One of my mentees this week. She, she makes me laugh. She literally messaged me so casually, just going like, "Hey, just bought another property at auction today," and I was like, she just threw it into conversation. I was like, "Cool, okay, great." She's brilliant. She knows who she is. Another one of my mentees bought her first property this week as well, a little two bed that she's going to do a conversion on. And then another one of my mentees finally came up with their company name and her logo, and she finally registered it on Company's House. So, you know, there's lots and lots of moving parts to my life as well, which is so great, and I get to champion everyone. But one of the things I was able to do today was actually read some of the messages that I received from the gala. So what I do is I have a guest book at my events, because I love people to write messages so that I can read them. And my idea is to basically get a bookshelf that is going to have all of the guest books over the years of all the retreats and galas and events that I do, and then I go back and I read the messages. And I thought, because I actually don't have some of the girls here to talk to me about the gala, and talk to me about their feelings, I thought, well, why don't I read maybe like three of the messages that are some of my favorites, just to kind of give an idea. And, you know, girls, if you're listening, like all of you, like I love you with all my heart, and thank you so much for your beautiful messages. So which ones have I got here? Let's have a look. Okay, Zoe, who actually lives in Spain. So Zoe came from Spain to actually come to the gala. So flew all the way over, which was absolutely amazing. And she wrote, "Dear awesome Athena, as you will always be to me whenever I hear and see your name. Thank you so much for creating this incredible community. It's a true reflection of how much you are respected that such a genuine group has come together. Because of you, keep up the good work, and looking forward to seeing us all grow and prosper together. Lots of love, Zoe." Yeah, like, thank you, girl, thank you so much. And that comes back to what I was talking about. Like, she used the word genuine, like a genuine group has come together, and I think that's what makes us so powerful. What else have we got here? Let's have a look. River, if you're listening, I loved your message. She wrote, Athena. I like this. She goes, "Athena, you absolute force of nature. Thank you so much for creating such a wonderful and supportive community. You should be so proud of yourself." I love that one. Sam Wesley. Sam, brilliant girl. Thank you so much. You wrote, "Athena, what a community. What a movement you have started in property. I'm so proud to be a part of Girls in Property and cannot wait to see what 2025 holds. Thank you for an amazing night." Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's slightly cringeworthy me reading these out. There are hundreds of them. But at the same time, I think it's important for anyone who wasn't there to really understand like how brilliant it is. Nicola, you know, again, Nicola, thank you so much for coming. She wrote, "Athena, I'm so grateful I found you at the start of my journey. What an amazing space for women you are creating and building. Thank you for a fantastic night of fun and joy. Love, Nicola." And that's an important thing to say, actually. Just on this note, you know, Nicola's at the start of her journey, and she was umming and ahhing whether to come to the gala, and she decided to come, and that's so important. And unfortunately, I actually catch quite a lot of people who find the podcast almost kind of into their journey where they're like, "Oh, I've already spent money with this property educator, and I've already spent money with this property educator, and I'm already in this community, and I'm not really getting anything out of it, and I've just wasted £3,000, I've just wasted £5,000, I've not really got anything from it." And what's brilliant is what Nicholas just said, which is, "I'm so glad I found you at the start of my journey," because what I like to do is I like to try and teach people the right way, and to always lead with their lifestyle first and letting the strategy choose you as opposed to the other way around. And Nicola then finding that community as well. So I'm going to hopefully talk about the gala more in some podcasts coming up, where I can almost get some of the girls who came on to continue to talk about it. But I am bloody celebrating that gala. It was a headache. it was tricky. It was really, really tricky. Christmas is an interesting time, but you know what? as I stood on that stage and I did my speech to all the girls at the beginning of the night, I was proud of myself, and I'm proud to say I'm proud of myself, and I'm not ashamed to say that. We sometimes as women feel like we can't actually talk about the fact that we're proud of ourselves, and it's taken me a while to get there. But yeah, it was an awesome night. So thank you everybody for coming. I love you all. If you are interested in coming to any more events or anything like that, then don't forget to get on our mailing list, which is in the show notes of this podcast. And the next event is going to be on in April. I haven't announced the date yet. The Gala girls know what the date is, as I put it in their Christmas cracker, but it's a bit hush-hush at the moment. So I will be announcing that in January, and then tickets will go on sale for April. So watch this space for that. Okay, deep breath. So shall we move on to goal setting for 2025 and giving you some tips, in regards to what you can start to think about for 2025 moving forward, and how to position yourself in really the best way to think, right, what does this mean and what can I do to really push myself forward? Okay, let's begin. So I've obviously written down some notes so that I don't forget, and wanting to make sure I get everything through with you girls. And the very first thing I wrote down was a quote, which for me is a really poignant quote that I found about 2 years ago, actually. And it's never been truer than now when I start thinking about my own goals and I start thinking about what I see for my future in all aspects of life, not just professionally, but personally as well, which is so important. We are more than our businesses, ladies. Really important to know that. So the quote reads this: "A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true." I'm just going to read that one more time. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And do you know, one of the key words that I always underline with this is action. Because I don't know about any of you, but I meet quite a lot of people, and everyone has dreams. You know, we're fantastic people. We all have dreams. We even all have a plan, to be honest with you. We're like, this is my goal, this is my plan, this is my dream. But if you do not take actual action to make and implement that, then your dreams cannot come true, because nobody's there to action them for you. Only you can action them yourself. So I love that quote. So when I'm going through today's workshop podcast with you all, I'd love for you to just have that in the back of your brain, thinking, how can I make my dreams come true? How do I make this happen? Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to do before you do anything else in regards to thinking about 2025 is I would first love for you to take stock of where you are right now and to reflect on your current goals that you set yourself for 2024. So do you remember what you wanted to achieve in 2024 at the beginning of the year? And take stock of where you are right now and think about how far you have come within this year that you are in. And one of the questions I've actually written down here to think about for yourself is, what action steps have you taken this year to help you get one step closer to your goals? So what action steps have you taken this year to help you get one step closer to your goals? So, for example, it might be that you have implemented a new strategy. It might have been you left your full-time job. It might have been that you planned a bit better to be, divide your time equally between family and work. It might have been that you gained more income and therefore you got a promotion at work. Whatever it may be, what action steps have you taken to help you get one step closer to your goals? And what I'd love for you all to do is to be really open and really honest when you're doing this, to think, well, what have I done actually? Because it's an amazing way to think how you can then think about your goals for 2025 as well. And one of the other questions I've actually asked on when reflecting on your current situation and goals is I've specifically asked, what has also hindered and challenged you this year to achieve your goals? So was there something that happened this year that meant that you couldn't achieve your goals? Was there a certain thing that happened? Is there certain elements that mean that it's difficult to achieve your goals? At the end of the day, one of the most obvious ones is if you're in a full-time job, gaining extra hours in or so that it takes away from being able to do your business. The kids getting extra curriculum activities that you have to take them to hinders you. What is it that has hindered you and challenged you? And think about how you can almost not avoid it, but how you can maneuver it for 2025 so that it doesn't hinder and challenge you going forward, is what I want you to think about. So that's all about reflecting on your current goals and really taking stock of where you are. So with a pad and pen, or if you're driving, I'd love for you to just think about, like, what have I achieved this year? What's been great? What have I done? And if I haven't achieved it and I haven't done it, why? What was it? And you know what? I did this once with my mentee, and I remember her talking, and she was telling me about all the things that were hindering her and what the challenge was. And I turned around to her, because this is what you need to do as a mentee sometimes, a bit of tough love. And I said to her, what you've just said has just shown me that what has hindered this year for you is you. And it really made her think, because she gave me so many excuses. And I was like, that's an excuse. And I was like, that's an excuse. And that's an excuse. And I was like, what's hindering you is you. And I'd love everyone to really sit quietly and think to yourself, and it's okay to admit this, like, what has hindered you this year, is it you? And that's fine. That's fine if you're like, do you know what, Athena? Yeah, this year it's me. And I think one of the best things you can ever do is be self-aware and take stock of that and reflect. So if it is you, know it and think, right, what could I do differently going forward for 2025? How can I think differently? If it's mindset, for example, come and talk to me. I can help you with mindset. I've got a free course on mindset. What is it that you think? Is it limiting beliefs? If it's limiting beliefs, come and talk to me. I've got a limiting beliefs buster exercise you can do. Just let me know so I can try and help you best I can. So take stock. Then the second thing I've written down is something called, which is what I'm going to teach you all today, is something called the GROW model. So GROW, the GROW model, about how to do goal setting for anything really. And what that stands for is goals, reality, options, and way forward. So GROW. So one more time: goals, reality, options, and way forward. And I love it. I think it's such a wonderful, I find that a lot of people have got lots of different ways that they do goal setting. You speak to one person and they say, this is how I do goal setting. And you can speak to another person and say, well, I've read this book and this is how I do goal setting. Fine, no problem. You do what's best for you. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to teach you my version of things. And if it suits you, fantastic. And if it doesn't, no problem. Do what is right for you. And what I want you to do when you're thinking about the GROW model is I want you to recognize where you are now and identify what to do next. That's the whole purpose of it. Okay, so I'd like you to do your first exercise, which is I want you to pick 4 areas of your life to focus on for 2025 goal setting and the GROW model. Now, when you're picking these 4 areas, they can be professional and personal. They can be that. They don't all have to be personal. They don't all have to be professional. They don't all have to be about money. And I'm going to give you my examples to give you a demonstration of what I mean by this. But what I want you to think about is genuinely, what would you love to improve in terms of topics for 2025? What would you love to improve in your life? And if you could have almost like 4 pillars, what would your 4 pillars be? Let me give you my 4 pillars, which I spend some time thinking about, and then maybe it will inspire you to think about what your 4 pillars might be. So, number 1, for me personally, some people might agree with this, some people might not, but usually people always have this at least as one pillar, is financial goals. So when you are self-employed, of course we have to eat. Like, let's just cut the bullshit. We've got to eat. We've got to do what we got to do. So financial goals is one. And it might be that you're thinking to yourself, okay, with my financial goal, is that a particular I want to take on a particular amount of properties and do them as flips, and each flip needs to equal at least £40,000, £50,000, whatever it may be. Is there a certain number that you want to hit for 2025? Is it that you want your business to profit, or not even profit? Do you want it to turn over six figures? Is it that you want to make you want to leave your current job, and in which case your current job, you need to take stock of where you are. So therefore, if you're saying to yourself, well, my job currently earns me a salary of £3,000, therefore in order to leave my job, I have to make at least £3,000 from my business by the end of 2025. Like, what is your financial goals? So really think to yourself about that one, as pillar one. Then pillar two for me, and some of you won't be shocked by this if you're an avid listener of this podcast, because of what my life used to be like when I was really in kind of the thick of it, let's just say, and lost my way a little bit, is I've actually written down for number two, relationships. So one thing I would love to improve for 2025 is my relationships. Now, this could be relationships with family. This could be relationships with friends. This could be relationships with partners. This could be relationships with business partners. This could be relationships with yourself. Like, relationships is so broad. It really is. But, you know, when you're building a business, and certainly when I built my business and still building my business, but if you listen to the podcast I did with Steve, who's my partner, which is the backstage basically to my life. I think it's called backstage pass, on the podcast. Me and Steve sit down for literally an hour, 40 minutes, and we really hash things out, which is that we learn the reality that for a long time I prioritized, you know, growing the business as number one. He was quite low on my priority list, and I was even lower on in fact, I was at the bottom of my priority list. You know, and that's so important to think to yourself, well, why are you doing it? What's the purpose behind it? And what happens if you get all this success and all this money and you get this six-figure business, but nobody is around you to share it with you? Because it's the whole age tale of like Scrooge basically in Christmas, you know, Christmas Carol. There's no point in having all of this unless you have someone to share it with, or at least that's what I believe. So I'm really learning that life is more than, how do I explain this? Life is more than business. Like, life is about sharing. So, relationships. That's number two. Number three. This actually ties in really nicely, because number three is health and well-being. I put so health and well-being, really important. Again, when I was going through and doing the business, this actually links really well to relationships. I just mentioned I was at the bottom of my priority list, and as a result of that, you know, my health and well-being just deteriorated massively as a result of that. You burn out, you get really sick, all of those things. So let me give you an example of a goal that I've set for health and well-being to explain to you what you could do if this was one of yours. Really simple, really simple. So one of them, for example, would be going out for at least a 10-minute walk every day, ensuring a 10-minute walk happens whilst you're working. Another one could be ensuring that you book in a massage once a month. Another one could be going to the gym 3 days a week and doing a 45-minute class. One of Heather Littleton's one, when she came on the podcast recently, hers was the fact that she walked her daughter to school, but she ran home to try and be fitter. So health and well-being can be very it can be quite broad. It doesn't just have to be about, oh, I've got to lose weight and I've got to go to the gym. It can be about health, could be mental health as well, and about how you feel about that. So, you know, relationships, health and well-being can be quite linked with that one as well. So health and well-being is certainly one that I really want to work on for myself. And then number four is, of course, and people won't be shocked by this one, is lifestyle. You know, as you know, lifestyle is massive for me, and that's what I try my absolute best to really push forward for everybody, is think about your lifestyle. Think about what is it that you are seeking? What is it that you want to do? You know, I've been there. I've been that person who at 11, 12 o'clock at night has been running to sort these guests out, or trying to get these properties ready, or responding to SA guests or tenants. Like, like I've been there. Like, what is it that is that what you want to do? Or is it that actually you want more passive? Or is it actually that it could be, even, for example, I wrote down with my goals that, last year for 2024, one of my goals was I wanted to go on at least 5 holidays this year. And I think I ended up, including the one where I went to the Midlands to the Rhino Lodge, I think that I did about six or seven. So it's about, what is it that you want for your lifestyle? Who is there? What are you doing? Do you want to be able to work away from work for 1 week a year? Like, what does it look like? Is it that your lifestyle is more with the children? Do you do certain things on a Saturday? These are all goals. These are all part of making up who you are as a person, to then take you forward with your business objectives as well. So my 4 pillars are financial goals, relationships, health and well-being, and lifestyle. So think about what yours might be. And then we can do that one. One shout out I'm going to give. I think, I'm so sorry if I get this wrong, but I believe it was Ellie in the community. I think it was Ellie in the community, who's new to the community actually. And she said she really wanted to improve her financial situation, which ticks that box, to then be able to take her partner to the F1 Grand Prix, which then improves her relationship as well, and her lifestyle. So again, they can all be linked as well. And that was a really, really cool one that I hope she gets. So yeah, really cool. So when you got your 4 pillars, keep them close to you. I want you to write down 2 to 3 goals for each area. And I also want you to add a timeline to it. And the reason I want you to add a timeline to it is because I want you to make them SMART goals. So what do I mean by SMART goals? So SMART goals, they need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So for anyone who doesn't know what SMART goals are, they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And that's what I want you to make them. So for example, giving a really quick example here, just to help out, the amount of time somebody says, oh, I want to earn money so I can leave my job in 2025. And I'm like, okay, how much is that? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, right, you need to first of all understand, how much do you earn at the moment? Let's say £2,000. You're like, great. So how are you going to do that? And they're like, oh, I'm thinking about rent to rent. And you're like, okay, well, how much is each property profit, if you think about it, from rent to rent? And how many of those do you need before you can then leave your full-time job? Like, that's how you got to think. So if we now relook at our goals, we're like, okay, I need £2,000 to leave my job. Okay. Each of my rent to rents traditionally cash flows profit £500 per calendar month. So you're like, right, I'm going to achieve 4 rent to rents that each cash flow £500 per calendar month by September 31st, 2025, to hand my notice in October 31st. That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So always think to yourself, how can I do this? Because then what you can do is you can measure it and you can really understand how to get there. Because then what we do is we then break down the goals. I'm like, right, how do we get the first one? How do we get the second one? How do we get the third one, etc. So it works that way. So make sure that you do that, because otherwise it's hard to achieve a goal when you have absolutely no idea of the direction or how to get there. You become flounder from the Little Mermaid and just flap around, really. Cool. So those are your 4 areas. Pick your goals. Then what I'd like you to do is, this is really important. This is what differentiates the GROW model to any other one, and why I love it so much. And this is the key bit. Find the motivation behind your purpose. So find the motivation behind your purpose. So I always find that quite a few times what can happen with this is that people can often look at their goals. And what they do when they look at their goals is they think, okay, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I think I need to do. But they don't ever find the motivation behind it. And as a result of that, because they don't find the motivation behind it, they don't often push forward, or when things become tough, they don't really continue with it because it gets tough. And what I want you to think about is 2 main things when you're thinking about finding the motivation behind it, which is, number 1, how will you feel when you finally achieve your goal? And what will be different in your life? So how will you feel when you finally achieve your goal? And what will be different in your life? And if you sit there and you really think to yourself about that, each time things get really tough, and each time you go to your service accommodation unit at 11:30 at night and you drive and you say to yourself, like, why the hell am I doing this? You'll be reminded of the motivation behind your purpose. And you'll say, because I want to leave my full-time job, because I want to cash flow this much money, because I want to have the freedom to choose how I live my life and not be dictated and not have debt and all of this. You then find the motivation behind it and you find your why. And people often talk about their why, but they talk about it in such a loose term. I mean, real purpose. And a lot of people will always talk about their children when they talk about their why, and they say, I'm doing it for my family, I'm doing it for this. That's fine. Of course you are, absolutely. But I want you to think even deeper than that. Like, what will it look like? Draw it. You're talking to me about the fact that you're doing it so that you can have more time with the family. Okay, what are you doing? Draw it. Are you at the zoo? Are you sitting on the sofa? Are you on a holiday? What are you doing? Like, it's more than just I'm doing it for me and my family so that we can have more time freedom. Great, I understand that. What are you doing now with your time? If you're not doing this with your time, what are you doing with your time? Really think about the motivation behind your purpose. And I guarantee you, I don't know if you've ever had this before, listeners, but you ever seen somebody who starts in an industry? It doesn't have to be property. Think about a business, think about anything. And they come flying out of the gates. Social media in abundance. They're there. They're like, look at me, I'm amazing, look at me. And actually, property has a lot of these people. And I watch them, the newbies, and I'm always like, oh, they're doing good things. That's really interesting. And then one day, out of absolutely nowhere, they will disappear. Like they've never existed before. They'll just disappear. They're gone off social media, gone out of the industry, never to be seen again. And it's because they hit a wall and they didn't have their purpose or their motivation behind their purpose. And if you can hold on to that and you can draw it and you can visualize it, that is what's going to get you through the really long and dark nights. Because as a business owner, anyone who tells you that this is an easy road and that this is an easy path that we're choosing, they are lying to you. This is goddamn hard. This is why people don't do what we do, but we do it because we love it and we love what it will give us and our purpose. So that would be my advice to you. And then once you found your motivation behind your purpose and you've done that section, then what's really important to do is start thinking about the action steps and the action to then drive your vision forward. So basically, what I mean by this is plan for success. Plan for success. Really important. So when you're thinking about your goals, for example, let's take this goal of, just because it's easy and I spoke about it before, this idea and the notion that you need to make £2,000 a month. So therefore what you're going to do is you're going to have at least 4 rent-to-rents cash flowing £500 per calendar month by September 31st, 2025. If you take that goal, you're then going to need to break that goal down into smaller milestones, which the way I always do it is quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then daily, of course. So if you're thinking about quarterly, now, realistically, when people come to me, a lot of people think that they believe, because they've heard it from books, they've heard it from podcasts, they've heard it from audio, they've heard it from training companies who make them believe that this is possible, and this isn't, I'm not saying this is impossible. I'm just saying that there have to be circumstances that allow this to happen. Is a lot of them come to me and they say that they think that they're going to get their first HMO within their rent to rent HMO, SA, whatever it may be, in the first month. And I'm like, that nearly never ever happens unless you have connections or somebody's already giving it to you or something. If you're going in cold and you're building up a business and nobody's ever heard of it before, it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. Traditionally, you're looking month 2, month 3, I'd say. So I would never put more than trying to take on 1 rent to rent in the first quarter. I wouldn't do that personally, because otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail, which isn't the right way to do it. So I would probably say, right, in quarter 1, I hope to take on my first. If not, if that's too much, then at least by quarter 2, and start thinking to yourself, right, okay, let's break this down into then monthly. So how many networking events do I want to go to in a month? Let's say 1 a week. Okay, I want to go to 4 networking events this month. Let's do PIN, let's do PPN, let's do a girls in property, let's do whatever. Like there's loads out there. And then weekly goals, and think to yourself, right, weekly, what could I do? Right, weekly, I'm going to send 100 direct to vendor letters. This week, I'm going to create the draft of the direct to vendor letter. This week, I'm going to create the logo. This week, I'm going to speak to 10 agents. This week, I'm going to, whatever it may be, set yourself your goals of what you want to do and break it down to be like, okay, I need to take on my first rent to rent HMO. To do that, I need to draw up a direct to vendor letter. I need to go networking. I need to leaflet drop. I need to call 50 agents. I need to create a CRM system, like whatever it may be. Start thinking to yourself, what is it that I need to do, and break it down again and again and again. And you'll hear me say it till I'm blue in the face, and I've said it before, 1% every day will get you to where you want to be. I guarantee it. If you try and push really hard and fast, you will burn out. You must listen to me. I've been there. I've done it. I've literally worn the t-shirt for it. It's not fun. It's really not. And you just feel like a failure, and you feel like you're failing all the time. Slow and steady, like the tortoise, will always win the race. You really will. And I there's one thing you take away from this. It's just slow and steady, and don't burn out. And don't think this is a get rich quick thing. Like, don't leave your job until you're ready to leave your job. Feed yourself. Keep the money flowing. Don't just jump with both feet. Like, just keep it flowing. And then when you're ready, do it in a steady, professional manner, would be my advice. So once you've thought about quarterly, monthly, weekly goals, then start thinking about your 90-day action plan. So what I'd love everybody to do after listening to this podcast is to create a 90-day action plan. So for example, when you think about this 90-day action plan, I'd love you to put different columns in this. So the first column is, what is the action step that needs doing? By who? So who needs to implement this action step? What are the resources needed to implement this action step? What are the success indicators? And then a tick for done. So let's make this really simple for the first one. So the action step might be the action step would be to get 2 viewings by the end of the week. That's the action step. So I am going to receive 2 viewings within the postcode of BH1 to BH11 by Friday 5 p.m. on this date, for example. By who? So you would need to action it, which you probably, a lot of the action steps you do in the first chapter of your business will always be you. But then as you grow, it might be that your broker needs to action something. It might be your contractor. It might be your accountant. But for the majority, it'll be you to start with. What resources are needed? So Rightmove, Zoopla to have a look at these things. It might be that you need, for example, Canva or Word doc to create your your direct to vendor letter. It might be OpenRent. Think about what the resources needed are. And then what are the success indicators? So how will you know once you've succeeded? So for example, you might say, I will have 5 viewings, which will lead to, or 5 possibilities that will lead to 1 viewing, which will lead to 1 proposal being, put together, something like that. And then tick done. So just have a tick box, say done once you've done it and you've achieved it. So a 90-day action plan, you'll do this 4 times throughout the year. And what's great is you'll then break these down into so these are just the quarters basically. And it would just help you to see, right, where was I in quarter 1? What went really well? How can I move into quarter 2, quarter 3, etc. And a 90-day action plan is something that I've always loved to do, which is brilliant. And then moving on from there, which actually is a really important point to make, because I see a lot of people fall down on this bit, is structure your week. So what I see quite a lot of is, and I understand completely why, I really do, is people come up with the best intentions. They come up with their 90-day plan. They even put it in the most beautiful Canva I've ever seen. And I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. Like, you spent some time on that. And what then happens is because, let's face it, life gets in the way, and life is reality. they don't structure their week to be able to implement anything that they hope to do. And as a result of that, they feel really crap about themselves. They feel really down. And then they believe that they can't do it, and they believe that they're going to fail, and then they just don't do it, basically. And that is what happens. So I don't want you guys to basically have that and that happen to you. So when you're thinking about structuring your week, what I really want you to think about is, first of all, what does your week actually look like? Like, what does it actually look like? If you were to write down your week and to get yourself like a little, like I've got a little B&M calendar, cost me £4, and it's got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm able to look at it and go, right, how does my week look? This will help you then plan for success and the idea of what is actually realistic. So, for example, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to go to a networking event with Pin on a Tuesday, but the reality of your life is that you can't because little Benny goes to football on a Tuesday evening, you're like, right, well, I have to get to that networking event. Therefore, babysitter, I'm going to make names up, you're going to laugh at me, but babysitter Sid has to look after the child that night, or my husband has to look after that child that night, or you take them with you. I know some women who take the children with them. Like, you need to plan for this. You need to really think to yourself about it. You know, I mentor one of my mentees who came up with this beautiful plan, but the reality is that she's got a full-time job. And I'm like, right, did you get it done? She goes, no, because of this and this and this and all the excuses. So I said to her, right, when could you actually do this? And she says, well, do you know what? I could probably push everything up and actually take the Friday off, or take the Friday afternoon off. And I'm like, great, Friday afternoon, put it in your diary. How long are you going to what's the word, dedicate to the property, and get yourself like, Honest Property sisters Ruth and Rebecca was suggesting to get yourself like a little egg timer. Like, do it, get yourself an egg timer, put a timer on your phone, get rid of all distractions. It's really important to plan it in your diary to do that. So I never used to do this, and do you know the biggest thing that used to happen to me was I used to wear lots of different hats all at the same time, and that is the most exhausting thing to do when you have lots of different hats. So to give you an example of that, I used to do podcasting, then I used to mentor, then I used to call agents, then I used to do all of these things. That is what the most draining bit about the whole thing is. Whereas if you were like, today is the day that I'm only going to do podcasting. Today is the only day I'm going to mentor. Today is the only day I'm going to dedicate to speaking to estate agents on my property journey. Then it really helps you in terms of mentally clarifying it for you. So, for example, I now only do podcast interviews on a Monday. I won't do podcast interviews any other day. Today's an exception. Today is an exception, actually. It's because I'm doing a solo episode. I'm actually recording this Sunday night, which I never do. It's just that last week I was at Rebecca's CEO Wealthy Women event and literally exhausted from putting on the gala on Saturday night. So I need a little bit of a break. But usually I record on a Monday morning. If anyone can't do that and they say, can we do it on a Thursday afternoon? I just say no. It has to be a Monday morning because that's my structure. I then mentors on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I only mentors Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday's kind of like one of my property days where I just get all of the property admin stuff done. Friday I take for more business development. So Friday will either be meetings in person or business development, sort of thinking and creativity. And then the weekends are off wherever I can, or if sometimes on a Sunday I'll edit the podcast. But it just shows you, if you have structure to it, it really helps with thinking. So I want you all to really think to yourself with your life and be realistic with this. When can you actually fit in the time to really do this, and to be honest with yourself about that? Not to make excuses, but to allow yourself to be prepared to be as successful as you possibly can. So that's really, really important. And as I said, what is realistic, and you need to plan for success. And then once you've done all of that, what I'd love for you to then do is to start thinking about KPIs. Now, a KPI, for anyone who doesn't know, is a key performance indicator. So what I think about with KPIs is, I think to myself, first of all, I want you to ask yourself, what is the goal? What is the plan to make it happen? How will I know once I achieved it? And how will I feel once I achieved it? And those are your KPIs. So what's the goal? What's my plan to make it happen? How will I know once I achieved it? And how will I feel once I've achieved it? And one of the things I did with my KPIs, which was so helpful, was I remember there was this one month and we just didn't get any rent to rent. And I felt really rubbish about it. And I looked back through my KPIs and I was like, well, how many agents did I speak to this month? How many networking events did I go to? How many letters did I send? And do you know what? It was so low. I went to one networking event. I'd sent 10 letters. I'd spoken to 3 agents. And I was like, oh, that's why. That's why it was a rubbish month, because my action steps didn't lead me to actually be able to get one. And when you do that, it's brilliant, because I speak to people all the time and they're like, oh, I didn't get it and this and this. And I'm like, okay, well, how many letters did you send? They're like, 10. And I'm like, how many messages did you send on open rent? They're like, 2. And I'm like, right, here you go. Now let's actually get to the bottom of this, of why you're not getting where you want to be. It's because they're not putting the action steps in order to give them the best position. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, in this day and age, unless you're in a certain type of industry or other things happen, things won't just come onto your lap. You really need to make it happen for yourself. Like, no one is coming to save you. This is on you. So you do actually have to take action with it. So KPIs is great. It helps you measure things. It helps you keep sane. It helps you understand where things are really going well and where things aren't. And just helps you to reflect and measure as well, which is always good. And then second to last, I've got here visualization. So visualization is really key, actually. You'll hear a lot of people talking about manifesting in quite a woo-woo way. And I'm not a very woo-woo person, as it were. But visualization is something that I've really, really taken on board to be fantastic. So if you haven't already done this, and do you know what? I actually recommend, and people will differ on this, I actually recommend getting it offline. I know quite a few people, myself included, that for 2024 made a visualization board on their laptop. Canva's so easy to do it. You go into Canva, you make yourself a visualization board, Google images, done. Whereas I feel like, I don't know who remembers this. I mean, I'm 33 years old, so I used to grow up on Art Attack. And I'm trying to think to myself, like, if we actually just came offline for a bit and we got like a big bit of cardboard and did visualization, like, you could just cut out of magazines and really have some fun with it, and make sure that you then put it in a space where you're always going to see it, whether that's the kitchen, the study, your bedroom, wherever you want to put it, basically, to always see it every day, to be your visualization. That's brilliant. And you know what, another thing I'd say is when you write things down, like physically write things down, or where you say things into the universe, you literally speak it into existence. And it's the same with visualization. Once you see it over and over again, you're like, yeah, that's achievable. That's what I'm going to do. And one of the things I always ask people to do when they're doing their visualization boards is, in the middle, I love for you all to write almost a sentence that's going to going to be your motto for 2025, like your motto that you're going to stand by for 2025. So my examples of this were, for 2023, my motto was know your worth. That was my motto for 2023. 2024, my motto was what's meant for you will never pass you by. And I think for 2025, I've got 2 for 2025. One of them is think bigger for 2025. So I always struggle to sometimes think bigger, and people always say, oh, it's not big enough, Athena, think bigger. Believe it or not, people do say that to me. And the other one I really want to lead with, which I've learned a lot in 2024. I might even do a reflections podcast. Like, I feel like I've changed quite a lot of a person. I think that I've changed about what I define as wealth and what I define as important to me in my life. And I think one of the things I've personally learned for 2024 is lead with your heart. Like, lead with your heart, which sounds corny, but do you know what? In business, I genuinely believe that if you lead with your heart in business, particularly in this industry, you can never go wrong. Because I think a lot of people have got lost this year, and I've watched a lot of people get lost this year, and I've watched some really awful things happen. And I find it's because they chased the money and they didn't follow their heart. And I've had some things happen to me personally where I've had to make decisions this year, tough decisions, which meant I lost a lot of money, but it was the right thing to do. And as a result, I followed my heart and didn't chase the money. And I think that if you lead by your heart, you just can't go wrong. So I want to think bigger, but I also want to think with my heart as well. So I've got to think of how I'm really going to do that. I might make two. One might be think bigger, and it might have like really cool, aspirational, like 8 holidays a year and all of that. And then it might be, lead with your heart, and it might have my dog, and it might have a family on there, and it might have God knows what. I need to make it. I need to make my own. So I'm going to be doing this between Christmas and New Year. I'm really reflecting on myself and thinking about this. So what I'd love everybody to do actually is I love, if anyone is actually listening to this podcast and they're going to do this, I'd love for you to make it and tag Girls in Property on Instagram so that I can reshare it and I can have a look at all your amazing kind of like drawings and art attack and everything and really celebrate you and champion you. So make sure you do that and tag Girls in Property and my personal one as well, which is Athena Dobson _official. And then I'll be able to reshare that for you and really, really celebrate you. And then the last and final one that I've written down here is accountability. So accountability is huge. It really is. When you're starting out in this and you make the decision to do more in your life, to do more and to think bigger, sometimes you'll be very fortunate. And sometimes you'll have a person at home or family and friends around you who really champion you and are like, yes, amazing idea. You can do this. You go, girl. Or guys, listen to this. You go, guy. In that moment, I was thinking about Mean Girls going, you go, Glen Coco, which hopefully people understand the reference to. And, you'll be really fortunate if that happens to you and you've got a supportive partner, supportive parents, supportive friends, family. And sometimes you won't. And you know what? Like, kudos to you. If you don't have any of that around you and yet you still decided to go down, like, I celebrate you. I champion you. I see you and I'm saluting you because I think that is a bloody difficult thing to do. And I'm telling you, the thing that will get you through it more than anything else is having accountability partners, because they will be your cheerleaders. They will keep you going. They will hold you accountable. You can lie to yourself easily. You can say, I didn't speak to those 4 agents this week because I had this, this, and this, and this on. Whereas you're then about to go and meet your friends and you're like, oh my God, I haven't done it. How embarrassing. They're all going to ask me if I've done it. That's going to then force you to actually do it. And to be fair, a lot of my mentees say to me, I would never have done it unless I knew that I had my session with you coming up because I knew that you'd bust my ass, which I do. I will listen to you if there are genuine circumstances why you haven't done something, but I won't listen to excuses. I'll just think that's an excuse. Get it done. So it's one of those where accountability partners are absolutely fantastic. And, this could be people in your area. This could be people online. Of course, we've got the Girls in Property community. And of course, we're there to hold everybody accountable. I'm not trying to plug Girls in Property community in any way in this moment. I'm just saying that the community is there if you need the extra support. Because it's a fantastic community, and we all come together and we meet every single, the first Tuesday of every month. And then sometimes I do extra sessions as well for the quarterly event, or if I've got extra people that I want to come in and speak for the girls. But even if you just set up a WhatsApp group, even if you just met up with somebody, then that's a brilliant way to do it. And people always say to me, they ask me a question, which is, what do you think actually kept you going at the beginning with all of these things that happened and when you felt like giving up and burnout? And absolutely, it was the people around me that kept me going and believing in myself. And if you look to the podcast at the very, very beginning, we're nearly on our 100th episode, believe it or not. And one of the people that I am getting back on for my 100th episode is one of my really, really, really great friends, Sophie Foote, because me and Soph started the podcast together, back in the day. And and she will tell you, and I'm going to get her on the podcast for the 100th episode. I think this one's 94, 95, to tell you the story about how me and Sophie met, which is that I reached out to her. I saw her in a magazine for YPN. I reached out to her, this little, girl in the travel industry going, hi, I've seen you in the magazine. Would love to connect with you. You live in Southampton. I live in Bournemouth. Would be great to meet for a coffee. And putting yourself out there, putting yourself out. I might get her to read the message again for 100th episode because she loves doing it and embarrassing me. But that's what really got me through is having my sessions with Soph, really, and just keeping each other on track to go, and even to say, like, this is hard, isn't it? This is harder than we thought it was going to be, and this is really crap. And the first call I ever got for my director, I'm on a tangent right now, apologies, but it's important I say it. One of the first things that ever happened to me, when I started my rent to rent business, and I sent my letters. I did what everyone told me to do, send your letters. And I did. And I remember the first call I ever got, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, it's working. Yes, it was only a day, 2 days. And it was my first call, fresh out the box. I picked up the phone. Hello, Rooms Bournemouth. How can I help? And this woman screamed down the phone at me. This old woman screamed at me because I'd addressed it to their dead husband. And she said that, oh, you brought up bad memories for me. Like, who do you think you are? I think she told me she was going to take me to court, but I'm not quite sure how. And I remember coming off of that call and just crying my eyes out, being like, oh my God, this is horrendous. I don't want to do this. And I called Sophie and I was like, you're never going to guess what happened. She's like, oh, that's fine. It happens to all of us. Just go again. And just having that person there to say, oh, don't worry. And now that's me, by the way. I'm now that person to go, oh, that's fine. They're having a bad day. Don't worry about it. And it's really important to have that accountability. It's really important to have that person there that tells you not to worry about it and just to go again. Because otherwise we get in our own heads, don't we? We get in our own heads. We have all these thoughts that think, oh, you're not good enough. You're rubbish. Can't believe that just happened to you. The next call is going to be just as bad. And that's just not true. The next call always is better and better and better each time. And rejection is such a difficult thing in this industry. Everyone faces rejection, whether you're putting in an offer, whether you are trying to get a business loan, whether you're trying to get sponsorship, whether you're trying to get a rent to rent, whether you're trying to get a deal over the line, whatever it may be, we're always going to get rejected. And I think rejection is quite difficult, and rejection becomes so much easier when you have people to go through it with you. It doesn't have to be so lonely, is what I'm trying to say. So accountability, I think, is one of the things that actually really, really got me to where I am today, is creating that. And in the end, creating my own incredible community of these women who champion each other. And I am beyond proud of that. Like, you know, how do I explain this? That means more to me than money any day of the week. It really does, because I'm leading with my heart and I know what I'm building with that, if that makes sense. So, yes. So, just to recap, goal setting. So, reflect on your current goals always. You need to take stock of where you are. Then look at the GROW model if you think it would work for you, which is goals, reality, options, and way forward. Pick your 4 areas to focus on, and then write your goals for each area, and don't forget to make them smart. Then, really important, find the motivation behind your purpose, because that will really keep you going. Then plan for success. Be real with planning for your success. What can you do? What can't you do? Don't set yourself up to fail. There's no point in doing that. Create a clear 90-day action plan. Structure your week. Be really clear and intentional with your week. Create KPIs, key performance indicators, to keep you on track so that you can measure and know how you're doing. Create your visualization board and visualize it with knowing what it is you want to achieve for 2025 and have it in front of you at all times. And then get yourself somebody to hold you accountable, whoever that may be. Just get someone to hold you accountable and hold them accountable as well. And that is what I think everybody should do leading up to Christmas and the new year, is set yourself some goal setting workshops. I think that would be brilliant. Yeah, and that's a bit from me. And of course, if you really struggle with it, or if you've got any questions about what I've just spoken about, you know that my Instagram DMs are always open. People message me all the time asking me questions, and I try my best to respond to each and every one of you. So if you've ever got a question, message me on Girls in Property, message me on my Athena Dobson Instagram handle, and I will answer as best I can. But go for it. Go. And by the way, my last thing I want to say to you is never think small. This comes back to thinking bigger. It's like when you're let's take a financial goal, right? When you're thinking about your financial goals, don't write something down and then cross it out and go, oh no, that's too big. That's too mega. I can't do that. Write it down. Like, shoot for the stars. And what is that saying? Shoot for the star. No, if you aim for the moon and you shoot for the moon and you don't reach it, it's fine, because you fall in the stars. Like, go for it. Make your make them scary, make them incredible. So many people this week have said to me, I'm starting out on my journey, I'm so excited, but I'm also so scared. Of course you are. Like, being scared is part of it. That's if it wasn't scary, everybody would do it, for goodness sakes. Like, just go for it. Just honestly go for it. Get yourself accountable. If you want to genuinely join the community, we're about 82 women now, and it's just ridiculously incredible. And like I said, we meet on the first Tuesday of every month, and I always do Girls in Prosperity first and foremost, which is all about who are you as a person. So I'll bring in somebody to talk to you about social media, systemization, time management. I even had breath work. Like, it's about developing you as a person before you can then go in to then be the best business person that you can be, and in property. And then quarterly, I bring in property experts. So I've got some deal sources coming in next year. I've got HMO specialists. I had Ella Hardy coming in to speak about land development. So I always try and get the right people together in the room as well. And then, of course, I've got the platform that's built on the Circle platform. So that means that with Circle, you can be in different spaces and you can talk about the different things you want to speak about, whether it is commercial conversions, HMOs, BRR, buy to let, whatever it is you want to talk about. There's a space for you, and there's also a space to introduce yourself and a space to share your wins, because it's important to celebrate and then ask community a question. So yeah, excited. And then don't forget, April, we've got the annual retreat. It is going to be back at Penley Manor in Tring. So that is where that's going to be. And then I think I'm going to start moving around the country a little bit, but that will be the big event. So there'll be about 80 women there, which will be really, really exciting. Yeah, can't wait. Here we go again. Another event, fun times. But yes, that's it from me. I hope you all have the most wonderful week leading up to Christmas. I'm really excited to share with you some new sort of people coming on the podcast as well, which I think they're going to be great, and hearing their stories. But yeah, if you need anything from me, you know where I am. Thank you to everyone who came to the gala. For anyone who missed the gala, I missed you all, and I can't wait to see you in April. And again, any questions anyone's got for me about the community or anything else, then come and find me. Girls in Property is really going from strength to strength. We're talking about goal setting. I have some huge goals that I am setting myself for Girls in Property for 2025. As you know, Girls in Property is trademarked now as well, so the sky's the limit. Yeah, watch this space. Watch this space is all I'm going to say. It's exciting, and I intend to bring everybody along the journey with me, and we all rise together. I think that's important to say. Yeah, so thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening. I hope this was useful. Any feedback, always send it my way. Any guests that you want to get on the podcast, send my way. And I look forward to bringing you more stories, more fun, and a couple bit more cool things from me in regards to my journey, my lessons, and trying to help as many people as I can in the industry along the way. Have an amazing week. Sending massive hugs to you all, and I will speak to you soon. Have a good one, guys. Bye. Oh, before you go, property and business can often feel isolating, which is why I created the Girls in Property community group. It's a space where women from all areas of property, finance, and construction can come together to support each other and grow. Join our thriving community in our Circle platform, where you can engage in meaningful discussions, ask questions, and connect with others who understand the challenges you face. To join, simply DM me the word community and let's have a chat.